Dear Venerables, Dhamma friends, we are going to have a today's Dhamma talk. May everyone settle down and give the consent with sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Tesahang dukkhang ariya saccena putto vya karomi. Tesahang cittang arademi panyabhya karanenati. Dear Venerables, Dhamma friends, we have taken this Sakuludaayi Sutta as the main topic or the main discourse for this series of talks, and we are now gradually going to the depth of the subject matter, whereby the Buddha himself explaining why his disciples esteem, look and respect him, venerate him, and revering him, and live in dependence upon him with respect and veneration. And first and foremost thing Buddha mentioned was that his own virtues, and the second thing is his vision and the knowledge. The third one is his wisdom, special kind of wisdom. So therefore his disciples, that means inner circle, close circle, always esteeming and venerating, respecting, and always happy to live independence upon him. And that very knowledge, the Buddha here specifically under this context, he explained not his knowledge what he born with, not the knowledge that he learned and sometimes cleared by his concentration. This is the practical knowledge or appropriate knowledge or wisdom, sagacity, and in that sense he is a sage. And that unique practical knowledge, no one can come in par with him, and that is why everyone is look towards him and live in dependence upon him. Specifically the four kinds of disciples: monks, nuns, lay, male and the female. So that knowledge, as far as he is having this kind of a specific, practical, impromptu, circumstantial, appropriate knowledge, so when and where a problem happen, all the kind of disciples has come, and therefore they can't just break in and interrupt him telling when he's giving a sermon. Don't ask this question from Venerable Gautama. He do not know. I am the person knowing, like no one can make any interruption. So given this, the third aspect, the Buddha is asking from the Sakuludaayi, under such circumstances, can there be any break into the discussion and someone is declaring, Venerable Gautama, the recluse Gautama do not know, I am the person doing, just like as you mentioned in the other teachers, then Buddha himself is telling, cannot be, because you are, the pragmatic knowledge is unique. And therefore the Buddha says, I never expect any instruction from my disciples. Instead, they are the one asking instruction from me. So that is, I keep as a rule of thumb. So therefore everyone is looking at very respectfully and very venerating way, and always think they have to live in dependence upon the Buddha. So, having explained that, the Buddha is going to step into the next point. He says, Tetahang dukkhang arya satchena putto veyakaru. The third aspect is, my disciples come and ask me, of course they are become victim of the suffering, they suffer and they become prey of suffering, and then come and ask me, Bhante, what is the truth of suffering? Or what is the noble truth of suffering? Then I give answers. And I satisfy them by answering them. That is why, not theoretical sense, not in the philosophical way, practically they are suffering. Practically they are overwhelmed by suffering. They become prey of suffering. And when they come, I can give an answer in a satisfactory way. And that is yet another aspect why they are look upon me and live in dependence upon me. So therefore, the Buddha, when he is asking question, he has such a vast understanding to understand the question. So this is the most important thing. Many our teachers, or so-called teachers, they jump into the answer rather than studying the question. So much so, they are looking for books, golden formulas and sequences that really indicate they are book weevils. They are not practical. They never listen to the question. If you are listening to the question, answer is within. If you are not listening, if you are going for book, if you are going for formulas, that indicates it is a second-hand knowledge. So listening to some person, it's a wisdom, of course, as we discussed yesterday, it's a pragmatic wisdom, but the compassion to listen to it, and after listening, give an interpretation and say, are you happy with my interpretation? Is that the one you are going to say? Then only the communication starts. So each and every question in the present day, people are searching or chasing behind the answer, completely putting the cart before the horse. No one is waiting to study the question, waiting to invite the person coming and take time. So in that sense, the Buddha is very pragmatic. It's reiterating the same point yesterday we discussed. And then and there, he can reinterpret the question. So that is the way the questioner is understanding, he is communicating with me, he is with me. So this is normally won't happen when these theoretical masters, they come and listen to me, do like this, and they never get a satisfying or satisfactory explanation or discussion. So therefore, they have become just recorded things. Still there may be some kind of a respect and veneration and live, but the total answering will never happen. So therefore, for example, when we get together and when we are trying to follow the teaching of the Buddha, first and foremost thing is understanding the suffering of truth, the truth of suffering. Many do not happy to that, so they wanted to have a golden answer. Luckily, we had a question today, is there any accelerated way in order to get rid of this samsaric journey? So full of hatred. It's utter hatred. Being in the samsara, if you are not ready to study this, if you are ready to analyze it without getting hasty and chasing behind the escapism or avoiding the question, it's understanding, it's kind of you have to have ardent energy to understand it. So therefore, truth of suffering itself, the Buddha is putting it very as the first thing. When I was in Panditarama, there's one senior American person, and Bill Hamilton, and he was developing a kind of a thesis, and he was about to write a book, and he gave us his theme and the crux of the teaching, and he says how to find a saint and the psychopath. Exactly the same he says. Psychopath is utterly some kind of a disordered person, and the saint also the same. So he made a list, and he told these are the characteristics of the psychopath, these are the characteristics of the saint. Only the thing is, list is too free. Where the saint is do the last, psychopath do the first. What the saint is doing the first, psychopath is doing the last. So therefore, present day beginners in utter mess. They don't know where to follow, what to follow, which teacher to follow, which center to follow, because everyone is presenting fascinating methods and every kind of thing. So there is no yardstick, there is no proper way to understand or verify which one is good. Therefore, many people, those who are not serious about the Nibbana or serious about the liberation, they go to the meditation centers and use them as holiday camps. It is a contagious disease in the meditation centers. Many people go to the meditation centers because they are at house, their roof is leaking. So they are asking good meditation centers, asking this facility and this facility. I have very little experience. Everywhere you find mentally imbalanced people. More than anything, meditation centers are quite frequent with imbalanced people. And he did a survey and he told, I find least in the Buddhist centers because Buddha presents the truth of suffering at the beginning. So they are not happy with that. The other people are searching for facilities. The other people searching for these amenities and kind of thing. When they come to the center, all the other people give so much of attractive results. If you meditate, you get that, you get this. But when you go to the Thero, the meditation center, first and foremost thing is, you have to understand the truth of suffering. So these kind of mentally imbalanced people do not happy keeping this truth of suffering in first and foremost. So therefore many people say Buddhism is nihilistic, Buddhism is destructive, talking about, highlighting about the suffering. So Bill, has undergone a severe losses by practicing different meditation systems, and ultimately he came to the Panditarama and he was analyzing how the shadow is presenting it, and then only he came out with that book, The Saint and the Psychopaths. And you can see meditation centers are full of psychopaths. Whenever someone is coming and asking a question, you can understand it's a theoretical question or philosophical question or he is suffering. That is the qualification for Buddha to take him in. Because he is talking about his suffering, not his father's suffering, not mother's suffering, not yesterday's suffering, not tomorrow's suffering, not others' suffering. He is talking about his own suffering. So Buddha has a hot answers. So when you start a question and answer session, you see many people ask irrelevant questions. Theoretical questions, philosophical questions. That means they are not in suffering, they are creating suffering. They are manipulating suffering, manifesting suffering. So by looking at the question, you can understand. The other side of it is, whenever a genuine person like Patachara or Gautami or some, the question is red-handed. So then the Buddha can easily give an answer. So therefore, his filtering, his application form is very, very clear. This is, he accepts only people with this suffering as the starting point. So whenever you are asking a question, or whenever you met up with a pragmatic person, don't try to raise questions philosophizing or irrelevant to the present moment and others. If it is so, you have to say, this is not a question on here and now. It is related to the history or physics or yesterday and tomorrow. It is, we can say, theory for the sake of theory. The way the Buddha presents is, theory is for the sake of getting rid of suffering. If that is pragmatic, and both the parties are not wasting time. So therefore, this is a kind of a good presentation. The Buddha says, the person is coming, met with suffering, and overwhelmed by suffering, prey to suffering, and they come and ask, Bhante, according to your understanding, what is the noble truth of suffering? Not only Buddha understand it, he give answer in such a way, he hint him, I got your question. I got your question, that is the answer. That is the answer. That is how the Sigmund Freud became so prominent. And he was a mathematician. And he told, whenever you understand the mathematical sum, answer is there. Without understanding the mathematical sum, if you're going to work with that theorem and this theorem, you are utter bookweevil. You never read the answer. So read the question again and again. Read the question again and again. Whenever you understand the question, answer is there. Then you are writing step by step for the examiner to understand. Otherwise, your understanding is just by reading the question. So the Buddha says, Janato bhikkhave passato asavanam khayang vadami. O monks, I prescribe, I recommend getting rid of cankers and all the taints only for the people he or she know, he or she can understand. Otherwise, how can you deal with the cankers or taints? So therefore, both the parties must understand this is the question or this is the diagnosis. Without diagnosis, you can go to a pharmacist and he can give a prescription. He can give the prescription often without a diagnosis. And then end up with the iatrogenic effect. No one can answer. But the doctor or a specialist, he never go for the medicine first. He keep on questioning, asking, association, and try to get the root cause of the disease. And then it's a matter of checking the book and say, this is the medicine. Same thing you can get from the AMP or pharmacist. They will be very happy. Now I think there are a lot of rules and regulations not to do that. They can get it. So therefore, understand the truth of suffering, people consider as something negative, something destructive, something provoking suffering, something not done. Because they are searching behind the answer. They expect quick answers, accelerated answers, but they never happy with the question. So therefore, this is a kind of a hint, the Buddha says, when they come, ask me about the true noble truth of suffering, I answer. I satisfy them the way that I develop the dialogue. I thought of under this context to share some knowledges, specifically you find in the Patisambhida Magga, book of discrimination, whenever a person nearing the understanding of one's primary object He has often beaten with thoughts, sleepiness, over agitation, liking and disliking, but occasionally go into the primary object. This I would like to say, according to the teaching of the Buddha, when you are at home as a lay person, we have gehasita dukkha, that means suffering related to the household life. I am not going to elaborate it because hope it is a very obvious thing. So only a fraction of human population think about an alternative. Others think this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end. They are born with household suffering or lay suffering, live with suffering, and death is also with suffering. Some try to understand that called renunciation. They on experimental basis or in full time they renounce from the sensuous world, and when they renounce household life, they are going to get what you call renunciated suffering. No one expected. Everyone tried to become a monk or nun. They think the most important thing is, or most difficult thing is to get the monkhood or nunhood. Then they find everything will write the red roses. They never expect any danger. They think the renunciation is the difficult thing. Of course it is difficult thing, but no one expect. After the renunciation, there's a huge amount of suffering that is called renunciated suffering. The issue that I would like to discuss is something related to the renunciated suffering, because whenever, imagine now we are on the 4th day, the first day, if you are a beginner, if you are for the first time, if you are joining to a retreat, you come with so much of expectation and all the kind of thing. You find other people also with the white clothes and the precepts and everything is okay. So when you go and sit, you have so much of expectation to earn in the very first sitting. Definitely it will be utter failure. No, you can't cope up with the breath, primary object, and you struggle, more and more you struggle, sweating, frustration, no concentration, and usually the beginner means he think it is because of my weakness. They think this is my personal issue. They never talk about they suffer. Second day, third day, he or she can't put up with that, and he says, no, I can't, my mind is not meditated, concentrated, no mindfulness, so much of thinking and so much of sleepiness and so much of sounds. Some or the other it burst off. When it is happening, if the beginner is going to explain, when I try to keep my mind with the primary object, maybe your sitting posture or rising and falling or in-breath and out-breath, for an example, if he or she is going to say, my mind is often associating the past and end up with frustration. This is natural for the people in the early stage of their life. Latter stage of their life, so they are living in the past, definitely all crocs. They are worrying about what they have done. So always worrying. So they come and say, whatever the faith I have, whatever the precepts I am holding, whatever the noting I am doing, it is associating the past again and again. So it appears like something negative. But the Patisambhida Magga, it says if someone is authentically reporting, I am trying, my mind is also association, it says the truth of suffering is there. It says, atitanu dhavanam chittam vikkopanupatitam samadhisya paripanto. In that statement, 3 truths are there. One thing is, you know your mind is in the past. And you report, you end up with frustration, regret. And you understand, you're supposed to understand that is not the concentrated mind. That is not the mindful mind, the past. So when and where mind is associating the past, if you know it is in the past, the mental coloration is the regret, and you are eccentric, all the three will be reiterated when and where you note it. It's a truth of suffering. When anyone, even the Buddha is going to remember past, it's a regret. Any person. And even the Buddha, if it is happening, he may say, I am not concentrated. So if someone to see, for suppose that he is frequently again and again going to the past, and if he is given that instruction, when let it go, never mind, when and where it goes, you see the past, regret, lack of concentration, reiterate it, check it, and verify it, then you find it's a universal truth. Whenever the mind goes past, you find regret and no concentration. And the opposite, you may say mind is going future projection, and then the excitement, and still no concentration. And usually that is the case in the younger generation. They are always planning future. So that when they are reporting, they have to indicate, yes, make sure when you sit next time, whenever mind is projecting future, the mental coloration background is the excitement, and that excitement is working negative to your concentration or your mindfulness. Can you be mindful on these three whenever it is jumping future? Imagine one day he or she take this seriously and let the mind to go jump into the future, and again try to see. Whenever it come back, definitely mind is not the past but the future, and excitement is the mental background, and I am eccentric. Imagine when he or she is again and again too bold enough to observe it, the amount of progress he or she is getting, never negative. 3 negative factors, but you're again and again observing it. So therefore one has to not to discourage such a person, but to say this is the truth of suffering. Even if you have precepts, even if you have the faith, even if you have the good teacher, even if you have selected the object of meditation, even if you have the effort, you see. But it indicates your mind is not associating the past, but going to the future. It's a character trait. It's a personality trait. So let it happen, you can't stop it. But when and where it is going, see these traits. So always future planning, excitement, and lack of concentration. So whenever someone is to understand the past and the future, always with these kind of signs, your meditation not go in waste, even though it's a mistake. You are accumulating certain amount of experience, and that is going to get accumulation or cumulative effect. More and more you verify it, enormously the defiling power, inflicting power is reducing. Because they are accepted fact by Venerable Maha Sariputta. They are accepted fact by all the meditators for the last 2600 years. So you also verifying the same. Either you are past or future. So likewise, sometimes you become excited, over-enthusiastic, too much of energy. So when that happens, just like you throw a stone to a dry ash, it all fly off, jump. Likewise your mind gets fully scattered. Then it says, if someone is reporting this thing as bad, it says my mind is over-energized or too much of energy, so it's scattering off, no concentration. So whenever let the mind to go in a habitual way, over-enthusiastic and too much of noting or too much of expectation of results, then the scattering happen. Just like when you are looking your face in a mirror, Someone needs to hit the mirror to go into pieces. What happened to your image? Go into pieces. Likewise, you can see, mind is completely going into pieces. And that is often happen with too much of energy. And then no concentration. So there are also three facts you can understand. So patiently you have to let it happen again and again and observe it. When you are observing, you will see, you are really studying who am I. Because this is your personality trait. This is your likings and dislikes. You are a kind of a person exerting too much of energy and over-enthusiastic and result expectation. So when it is happen, let it happen. You are not inviting, it is happening. Whenever it is happening, see, over-enthusiastic, mind gets scattered and then no concentration. But even if it is scattered, even over energized, even you are in the not in the concentration, you can be mindful. That is the point. Because that scattered nature can't destroy the mindfulness. It can scatter the mind. But if you go prepared, if you accept the fact of truth, or noble fact of truth, you can understand, I am scattered, yes. I am over-enthusiastic, yes. I don't have concentration, yes, but I know. It is not someone told me. It is under very nose. So if you see the beauty of mindfulness, it can see through the scattered nature. It can see through this over-enthusiasm. It can see through even though lack of concentration. If the person is chasing behind the concentration, his whole business is at bankruptcy. He may commit suicide. But if you are looking the problem from the mindfulness point of view, you can understand even though it's a mistake, these truths, these patterns, the repetitive thing, well accepted. It's a very advanced kind of observation accepted in Buddhist literature. So next time when you go into say, yes, still I am enthusiastic, still I can see my mind is scattered, still I say I am concentrated, but I know when and where mind is scattered, I know it is scattered. It is exactly like when the in-breath happened, you know in-breath. Scattered mind, when it happens, you know it is scattered. No much of regret or no much of overwhelming. So that reporting, I would say it's not a beginner's business. It's very advanced. You only can accept truth as it manifests under your very nose. It has its pattern. Sometimes you are sluggish, lazy bones. Then the sloth and torpor sets in. You sit and no sooner you collapse. And you feel so upset because others are straight and keeping the posture and meditating. You are not. So this is very bad for the younger generation. And that is why Mahasi Sayadaw says, I recommend group meditation. Group meditation, when you are out of shape, it's a kind of a shame, a fear arises. So if you are putting it into the proper shape or proper understanding, you make it a point for you to be more alert, more energized, and that is the answer for this sluggishness. So even if you are going to the sloth and torpor, you can understand whenever there's a headache, sloth and torpor is not there. When there's a toothache or the dogs are barking, no sloth and torpor. That comes when everything is good. There's no friction, no problem, then baby go to sleep. This is what happened. And it says, when there's lack of energy, the slimy mind sets in, you are not concentrated. So I am keeping this as a homework. Can you be mindful under such circumstances? It is little tricky. When you are going to the sleepiness, still you can see the slimy nature of the mind, lack of energy, and then you can't keep the posture, and no concentration, can you be mindful? Loku Swamin Wahanse, our Jnanarama used to say, if you wish to go into it in a slow manner, gradual process, not in like a micro manner, but in a macro manner, when you go to the sleep, daily, at 10 o'clock, just leave the sleeping process. You can understand how you lay your body, and whenever sleep sets in, there is a process. It is not a split second, it is not one thought moment, the process takes place, and if you welcome sleeping, you will never study it. If you are going to study, sleep will be delayed. If you are going to study the sleeping process, slowly on the sleeping can take place. But still, he says, if you have this frequent question of slimy mind or sleeping nature, daily when you go to the bed, just see, it is not you. When these causes are happening, this effect is happening. So if you are worrying, you will never progress. But if you can boldly report it, that's the acceptance of truth of suffering. So the Buddha never discouraged person telling, I am always sleepy and I can't do meditation. He says, okay, let it happen again and again. It is the way your character. When it happens, you see the lack of energy and the slimy nature and lack of concentration. But you can be little more mindful if you know the process. That is kind of a preparedness. So that kind of going against the grain, and that preparedness, that alertness is the answer also for this sleepy or slimy or sloth and torpor nature. One before the last full moon day, where this part was not open and only this part, in the full of 8 preceptors, and I had 1 hour discussion, and towards the end, one lady wanted to report. Of course, it was in Sinhala, and she told, Bante, I often come here for once a month, this one day, Poya Day program, and my problem was sleepy. When I'm busy, I am over exerting myself. Whenever I go and sit, sleepiness happens. But last time you asked me, when it is happening, just to observe it, not to avoid it, not to escape it, not to consider it as a bad, just observe it. I never accepted this as a instruction, because you have no that enthusiasm, because when the sliminess sets in, you just give in. But today I came and sit, just before 1 hour, you come, and I was expecting the sleepiness to set in, it never come. Whole 1 hour I was sitting. Because you are welcoming this question. Under such circumstances, you are completely different person. So therefore, as far as you are ready, as far as you are bold enough to see this situation, your attitude, your outlook is different. So therefore, if you are going to say, no, you are disqualified, get out of the room and you are not a meditator and kind of thing, both the parties are at lost. So Buddha never denied that. He says, okay, this is the problem, please check. When next day when you fall into sleep, you can see your battery is discharged, not enough fuel or not enough energy, and you can see the slimy nature, congealing nature, just like the butter put into the fridge, is not spreadable. So when you are applying on the slice of bread, it is not spreadable. So likewise, mind is not mobilized. And in such circumstances, concentration cannot take place. But you can be mindful. You can be mindful. So therefore, the mindfulness never care whether it is a household suffering or renunciated suffering. Whenever it is happening, if you can really present your question, the answer is there. Otherwise, we will say that this pill or this operation or that thing, all the kind of thing, but never you assimilate your own answer within. Of course, here the Buddha is instructing, yes, but he is giving the full confidence, this is nothing beyond the truth of suffering. It's within the truth of suffering. You isolate your question. It may be completely different from the person who is over-enthusiastic and scattered mind and result-oriented. Your case is different, but both of them have all the three characters: lack of energy, the sliminess of the mind, congealing, and lack of concentration. And if you can be mindful on that, it's a I would say unhuman. It is not the human rationality. So that's the way Buddha says. And sometimes the third aspect or third couplet, the Buddha says sometimes mind is very desirable. For the first time when you are face to face with the breath, the breath appears so beautiful. You feel so energizing, like a battery is charging. So you see the breath the desirable way. And that very desire is disturbing you. That is overestimating and thinking, now definitely I am going in the correct path and I must teach it to my mother. And I will write a letter quickly to my father. Or I will write a note and tell my friend who failed to come this time, you see, if you are doing practice properly, it's like me, you also can do, please. Finished. So it is not your problem. This is bloody mind. This is the bloody mind. So you have to understand, whenever you become enthusiastic or the object becomes desirable. Sometimes when you are walking, feel like you are walking on the moon. No gravity. So then you feel like your telephone call or SMS to other person. You come to Nissarana, there are walking paths. When you are walking, you feel like gravity. Finished. But this is the truth. He never come to here to give that kind of calls. When the cause and effect happens, the desirability is good. But you see, undermining the perversion, the cheating nature. And sometimes when you are in the breath, it is so boring, so monotonous. You are face to face with the breath, but still yawning. Yes, breath is there, but it is just air. But the bloody thing can give any fame, gain, money, nothing. So you can see, and when that happens also, you have to understand, not desirable, not attractive. When that happens, your mind gets scattered, or mind concentration never happens. But you have to understand the breath has these two facets. At a time it is very desirable and magnetizing. At a time it is very boring, and when that happens, you become eccentric, you never be concentrated, but you can be mindful. So if you can, so sometimes I used to say, when you go to meditation, bring 6 empty bags. Put all the past thoughts and regret into one bag. And if at all any future thoughts and excitement into one bag. And if there are any slimy and very congealing, put into another bag. It's over-enthusiasm and energetic, put into another bag. And desirability of the object, primary or secondary, one bag. And if you have the boredom, into one bag, and you see, you can understand who you are. No two people equal. That indicates your personality trait. That indicates who you are. Never your face to face with the breath indicate who you are. All the good things, not deep. Whenever this kind of a suffering happens, manifest suffering in front of you while you are in the sitting, for example, with precepts and your faith and kind of thing, still the suffering manifests, you hate it. So how the truth can come out? Each time it is coming with the message, you kill the messenger. So message will not be communicated. And it's a very interesting thing is, How to report? Because we interpret, we add our value, judgmental values to our observation. Then it is filthy. Nothing. You have to just report as it is. That is why the mindfulness, it says, the choiceless awareness, or evenly suspended attention, or suspended decision. If you can just report, I would say he or she will never categorize as a beginner. Definitely advanced yogi, only they can give a clear bookkeeping and account as and when it happens, even if it is falling into these 6 traps. He or she is advanced because she is not developing mindfulness without trouble. She is developing mindfulness still with so much of troubles and very sporty, very adventurous, very revolutionary. So that is what Vipassana. But if you ask these 6 questions from the Samatha master, completely different set of answers. Because Buddhism is, it has a multifaceted. It's a many ways of handling a question. The Vipassana is face-to-face with the question. When someone come and report the Buddha, Bhante, I have this much of suffering, I am overwhelmed with suffering. Okay, sit. Nothing to worry. Is this what you are talking about? If it is so, please check the whole characteristic of that phenomena. So that is a kind of a sharing with that particular person. So whenever someone confronted with Buddha or unacquainted person, newcomer, the Buddha is using 4 techniques: Sandaseti, Samadapeti, Samuttejesi, Sampanseti. So first he explain or show him, according to his explanation, according to his question, this is what it is happening. It's exactly his situation he present with his omniscient knowledge. And he is not going to say, I am coming from the Sakyan clan, I was a king and I renunciated. No cock and bull stories. When someone comes, you say, this is the interpretation, is it okay? Sandaseti, the other person will fully absorb, because such a great person taking time, and his presentation of my question is exactly fit into what I am experiencing. And not only that, he gave the complete picture. So that Sandasana was showing and giving his own image, just like a very clear flat mirror. His Buddha is showing, you can see, is this your image? Yes. But he is not distorting your image. He is just show a plain glass. So that Sandasana is amusing, magnetizing. Imagine the Patachara, imagine the Kisa Gautami. He never laughed at it. He just accepted. And not only accepting and passive way, he says, this is what happening, isn't it? That Sandasana, and whenever it happens, the commoner, the person with the household life, consider this as negative. Consider this as something wrong. Consider this as something bad character. But Buddha says, no. You are really in truth of suffering. This is the way. Please appreciate it. You are a type of a sleeping character. Your lack of energy, when it is happening, slimy mind sets in. You cannot be concentrated. It's a truth. Are you sure? Then go and meditate and see whether you are going to fall into sleep again and again. With that preparedness, if you go there, he is a completely different person. He never made use his observations. He never made use his under-the-nose experience for the radical way. So always put into the negative. All the other teachers may consider him, he or she as a disqualified, but the Buddha says each and everyone is having with kind of a traits. So to depicting it and convincing him, this is what is your character. Check it. When you are meditating, often you are going to fall into this trap. If it is so, this is a character trait. This is a personality trait. You can't go to the astronauts or the astrologers and ask what is your character trait. You can't go to this and that soothsayer. But what he's doing is exactly what is happening. So therefore, I am just not reinterpreting or distorting, I am just giving a clear image. So this is always, Buddha says, it's always the helping, promoting people, understanding their own question. That is my contribution, my compassion. Just listen. So that is what we call free association. This is what you call counseling. And when Sigmund Freud first recommend this counseling and free association, he has mentioned in 1918 or something like that, when you let the other person talk, don't interrupt him, or he or she, just invite him to tell. You have to listen that story like a deaf person. You have to give observation, even though you are fully open and the other person is talking, even you are open-eyed, you behave like a blind person. Then everything you absorb, then the telepathic system starts. Instead, if you are going to use your rational mind, you also in distorted way, he or she also come into you with the distortion mind, never happen. So therefore you just behave like a blind person or deaf. Let that happen and give the full professional confidence, I will not divulge. That is my professional thing. And the other person naturally start to catharsis, going to happen. So giving that confidence to another person is the biggest help you can give. And the Buddha is fully qualified on that. So therefore he says, when some people come with the suffering, come with the overwhelmed with suffering, and the Buddha, they ask, what is this? Then he says, this is the truth of suffering. You are not accepting, that is your mistake. I am accepting, that is I call Buddha. The day you accept it, nothing extraordinary. Everyone is putting the same question in different ways. The Buddha's omniscient knowledge is each and everyone, even though presented or experienced in different way, is exactly the same thing. So therefore, this representing his own question is not a joke. Pandita Sayadaw used to say, when you go to the exam in the maths, you select the first sum which is easiest, more confidence, get the easiest one. First and foremost you have to write the sum on the answer script. Without writing the number and the answer script, if you are going to work it out, you won't get marks. So first repeat, you have to answer the same question on the question paper. Write that with the name, with the number, in the answer script. So that's a must. So therefore, understand the question and repeating into the other, you consider it as a fact. It's not a problem, but it is something this is what I am going to answer. So often you listen to people when they are talking, no consistency. They are starting with something and going to others, and others, ultimately it's an utter mess. When I read the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi, and he says he was born in a very, high family, and he was a very shy boy. But big shots are coming and talking with his father about the political problems and economic problems and social problems. They are top-class people. So he used to go behind the screen and listen what bullshit they are talking. They are just show off this and that. They never talk with respect to the background. So ultimately they are told, they are the big people in the country, and my father also the same. And when you look at, so ultimately he decided not to talk, because each and every talk dispersing or giving a disturbance into your mind. So he decided not to talk. So therefore later he became the great orator and the world leader, but he's a very shy boy. And then he thought, if I am talking, I will talk to that point. short to the point. Ultimately, never waste any word. Each and every word became very, very precious. Because you are talking with respect to suffering. Here and now. That very suffering is what you call noble truth of suffering. Going away from here and now, if you are searching something, just like a dog try to catch its own tail. Rotating. Without understanding here and now, you have the full capacity. That I would make a statement. You have the full capacity. You never do it. You expect golden formulas, you expect blessing from the others, you expect this and that, and not accepting the here and now. So how can you start? Where is the starting point? So listen to discussions. Think about before you present your question. What is the relevance of this question to me? Otherwise, throw it away. We are not the people to answer the world questions. With our whole capacity, we are still lacking regarding my own question. So therefore, it appears very, very selfish-like. It appears very selfish, we are going to deal. Then the Buddha says, the question is so profound, so you have to reduce into the workable way and then attacking, there may be some kind of a success. So therefore, understand the truth of suffering, difficult because you hate the knowledge. You love suffering. So therefore, the moment your perspective become correct, the present suffering, easily you can put up with. And you can be ready for the next moment. And when it is happening, you find out of these 6 traps, nothing more. These are the only 6. Whatever the situation I put into these bags, then the answer is, it's only 6 combinations. So, when that you become expert in these 6, you know each and every personality on the earth. Each and every personality, so someone come and present his or her question, the representative of the truth of suffering, one of these 6. And understand, first and foremost is not the answer, the combination. If the past, regret, no concentration. If the future, the excitement, no concentration. If the slimy mind, lack of energy, no concentration. If the over-enthusiastic and over-energetic mind, scattering, no concentration. If there's a liking or desirability, you get bogged down there. If it is dislike, you get swift off. So these are very clear facts and need no any Buddhism for that. Only the mindfulness available. And I would say, many so-called Buddhists do not know that. They never apply this way. They never see Buddha as a pragmatic person like this. They think by giving donations and the generosity, they can make the next Buddha to appear, and he will give a sermon, we can say sadhu, sadhu, and go to the Nibbana, just as a scholarship. You see? How do you make it escapism? Buddha is asking here and now. It is vigilance and diligence here and now. You make everything to the next Buddha. So that is why even if the Buddha is here on this earth, he will never come to Sri Lanka. Never. We make so much of jokes out of him. I don't worry about that also, because society at large is always asking quick answers and kind of thing. But take care. Can you live up to that? When you are living, first and foremost thing is, if something happens, can you put up with that? Can you really accept it as it is? Then problem is not a problem. If you find the answers, then onward you are putting the cart before the horse. Therefore, if the breath is available, if it is your primary option, well and good. You know this is in-breath, this is out-breath. And if the thought happens, make sure, you are thinking, equally good. Nothing wrong. Because you see the thinking, just like a thought. Or you have a pain. Are you wholeheartedly with the pain? Okay. If you are listening, you know, I am supposed to be here and see in-breath and out, but instead my bloody mind is going and listening. Okay, no problem. So as far as you know, or this is called bookkeeping, if you can have a bookkeeping, you are not such a bad man or woman. But if you are not bookkeeping, you are always inferiority. Always you pull down, that is what you call the defilement. So therefore, if you wish to understand not only the Nibbana, not only the truth of suffering, things as they are. Even if you wish to be a physicist or chemist, anything, your present moment is a message. If you are skipping it or eccentric, never expect. So therefore in Zen it says, if it is not now, when? If it is not here, where? If it is not you, who? I usually put into Sinhala, දැන් නොවේ නම් කවදයකෝ මෙතන නොවේ නම් කොහෙදයකෝ තෝ නොවේ නම් වෙන මොකාදයකෝ එතකොට now then you will understand. If you are expecting the Buddha or any God or any formula, you will never develop this confidence. To the confidence only this truth is happening, still you are living, nothing wrong, just mere acceptance. So that make a big difference. If you are not, you are asking magical formulas. You are asking external something. Each and every time you make yourself inferior. The Buddha never put the disciple in the inferior form. Never put oneself into the inferior form. He just show you are a human. You got the Buddhist dispensation. You came to the Buddha. Do you know it? What a blessing. So what you are talking, the suffering, is this what you are talking? Yes. So accept it. If you accept it, then you are qualified to go to the next stage. If you are not accepting and you are going to jump over, definitely you are going to put into potholes. So therefore this very acceptance, the Buddha is the very first one to teach you, learn the knowledge, what you call, things as they are. It is so obvious, it is so under the nose. But always we think, no, Nibbana will be something special. So therefore the Buddha says in the Kalakarama Sutta, Ditte dattabbanna manjati, dattarang manjati, additthang manjati, dittang yeva manjati. Me dakina oba deyin, oita wediya mokakkat dakin deyak naha. The thing you see, exactly this is the what, nothing you can have any magic there. You must not say it is something not to see. No, it is that it came, it is something to see. So therefore what you see is that. Don't think there is some other thing, just see. See again. See it again. Don't think that the Buddha is looking at the separate way or God is looking at the separate way and leave it aside. What is available is what is available. So, moment you try to understand the truth of suffering, jatipi dukkha, jarapi dukkha, vyadipi dukkho, maranampi dukkha, appi sampayogo dukkho, piyehi vippayogo dukkho, yampiccan tampi nalabati dukkhaṃ, saṅkittena pañcupadānaskandhā dukkha. The present, the appearing, if you are face to face with sleepiness, this is the sleepiness, is the truth of suffering. By derooting it, and if you're going to say, what is the way out of sleeping, you have completely missed the bus. You have completely put the cart before the horse. The sleepiness, it is not a crime. And very understanding, very nose, very sleepiness, under your very nose, it is the golden way. So that is the point where, whatever it is coming, if it is wrong thing, you suffer. The expected not happening, suffer. But if you know in the thing as it is, never give any kind of frustration, any kind of tension. So therefore, when you consider two people, it is a Socrates or a slave, both are the same. No, socially they may be different. Politically they may be different. Economically, but as human, exactly the same. So Buddha is bringing you back home, make you at home. So for that, no magical formula, is giving you the full authority, so that there is no creator and creature difference. I am also human, you also human. Be here and now. Whatever you learn, whatever you experience, be here and now. Exactly the same what the Buddha is experiencing. Don't try to think there's a difference. If you wish to be with the Buddha, always be here and now. And then you can understand Dhamma. Or you can be a part and parcel of this congregation and Sangha. Your precepts are intact. And within very short time you can see, as far as you are here and now, no frustration, no tension. That is your verifying whetstone. You can verify it. So many people go to India to see the Buddha. Pilgrims. But whenever you come here and now, you can see the living Buddhism, living Buddha. So even if you go to India, you are here and now, no problem. Even if you be here and now, no problem. So therefore, don't expect what is not available. What is available is quite enough for this operation or for this meditative practice. That is what we call humanity. So, moment you forget about the humanity, you are asking so much of problem. So Buddha never put down any person come in front of you. And he says, you are representing the truth of suffering, this is the way you represent, am I correct? Moment he says, yes, the Buddha's analysis is correct, there's a connection happened, then the Buddha says, if you understand, if you are not reacting to it, if you are unassuming and choicelessly be aware, then only you can understand the cause of suffering. Not without that. So that is the next stage or second phase in this fourth stage Buddha going to explain. So with that understanding what we have, we'll step into that in tomorrow and hope this will help you to understand coming to a retreat, it's a great opportunity. And I would say we too came here not together. Individually we had our own faith. Individually we found the path. So therefore that happened without the help of the Buddha. That is the greatest thing in our spiritual life. The coming to that. And in order to progress, you have to appreciate that stage. And if you forget about that, no hope. So therefore you have to understand the already earned knowledge or already amount of suffering you forbear is great. Always have that confidence and be prepared for the next moment. And next moment also will be another facet of the truth of suffering. And if you lose it, you are losing the noble truth. Be prepared, and for that, more and more you are mindful, more and more you understand the truth of suffering. Not the heaven. Not any magical powers, not any kind of camouflage. If it is so, you will be a psychopath. If you are met up with this, what is happening, you will be a saint. So each and every moment you have to misunderstand and have a dream in your mind or to come into the present moment at home and understanding. So this is the two opportunities only human being endowed with. The Buddha is adding nothing to that. He is just telling this truth. Each and every moment has this bifork method or path or consequences. Always try to be here and now or mindful. That will answer all the questions. And then my simple presentation is, as far as you are here and now, you are with Buddha. You are with Dhamma. You are with all the task is fulfilled. So that never give any kind of a special thing. You will see different facets of the truth of suffering. Hope you will endure the same task with more energy and more enthusiasm. With that idea, presenting that idea, I would like to sum up today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.